Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Finance Diaries. My name is Stephanie and I'm here to help teach you everything there's to know about personal finance. The stuff that you didn't learn in school, that your friends and family don't really seem to talk about, and that is quite frankly treated like it's a secret. You could even say a secret diary. I'm here to unlock and open up that secret diary for you so that nothing is really a secret anymore. So welcome to the Finance Diaries. It is just about to be the new year, and this is the time of year that everyone sets out New Year's resolutions. And New Year's resolutions can be so freaking annoying because we always set them, and how often do we really actually keep them and stick through with them? Today's episode is going to be all about how to make effective resolutions and sort of things that you want to accomplish in the next year, and how to stay on track and really focus on them. So this is what I do. I've followed through on quite a few goals this year, and I feel like I speak from a place of experience and with everyone that I've coached and helped along the way, that this is probably one of the best methods that you could have to accomplish your New Year's resolutions. Whether they're financial or whether they're not, I feel like everything kind of ends up coming back to finances at the end of the day. So maybe they're not necessarily financial, but let's just jump right into it. So the first thing that I do when I think about goals is I write down absolutely everything that comes to mind, like anything at all. Whether it's a goal that I feel like I have, whether it's a goal that someone's told me I should have, like as you go along, maybe somebody at some point's like, well, you should try this or you should do this. And you're like, oh yeah, that sounds fine. And maybe you have this in the back of your head that you want to do it. So whatever it is, jot it all down. This could be like a 15-page list. I've done this before with people and they've had, I want to say, like over 100 goals, which is crazy, but that's just step one. So I remember there was something about, pretty sure it was Albert Einstein, who said that if you try to do everything, then you can't really accomplish anything. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick 5 of those, the top 5 things that you want to accomplish. So whether that's going to be something that you want to do right away or something that you want to do in your lifetime, that's up to you what 5 you want to pick. But I like to pick 5 at a time so that if I accomplish all 5 of those in my life, I'll be really happy. And if I do get them done, then maybe I'll add a few more things. But let's just focus on 5 things that we can have our attention on, because when we try to do everything, we end up doing nothing, right? So once you have this huge list and you've narrowed it down to 5 things that you reasonably think and desired to accomplish, and that it's not something that your parents want you to do or that your spouse wants you to do or that someone told you that you should do. I remember it was always in the back of my head that I should have become a doctor. Well, actually, no, because I can't stand blood. I pass out at the thought of blood, and I just don't really have the desire for it. I've definitely always been a numbers person, so I had to push out these goals that just don't pertain to me. So that's step 1. So once you have these goals narrowed down, you take out everything that you don't want to do, and we have these actual 5 goals that you want to accomplish. Well, that's where the work begins, because it's very easy to say, I want to lose 10 pounds this year, or I want to get in better shape, or I want to buy a house. But what exactly are you going to be doing to accomplish these goals? And I think that that's where we fall short. That's the work that we don't do throughout the year that makes us lose sight of the goals, that makes us not really accomplish them, and that makes us not really work that hard. Because you need to actually have all those steps in place. If you think of anything that you do at your job, in life, with your family, well, if you say you're going to do something, you kind of need an action plan. So that's the part that we need to focus on. So figuring out the goals, that might be a bit of a challenge, the top 5 that you want to do, but the real challenge is the next part. So this is step 2. For step 2, what you're going to do is that you're going to figure out exactly what it is that you need to do in order to accomplish these goals. And I'm talking like every step, like break it down, be specific. So when we think of goals in general, there's this terminology called a SMART goal. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and in a timely manner. And essentially it means that you need to be specific enough and realistic and have something that's time-based that would make sense for you to accomplish. So putting the time-based aside, I want you to write down everything that would help you reach this goal. So let's say, for example, my goal is, well, this is actually my goal, is that I want to have at least 5 doors of income properties in the next year. Well, what does that mean exactly? How do I qualify this? Do I count, would a duplex with the bachelor in the basement count as 3 doors, or because it's not official? Like whatever I want to do, whatever I have the vision of, let's be really specific and get down to it. So this means that I would need to qualify to be able to finance X amount. I would get my mortgage approval. I would find a property that has at least this much in rent, or that I can renovate. All these things that I need to do to get there, I would have to write it all down. And then after that, after you think that you have absolutely everything that you need to do, I want you to look it up online, to ask a friend that's done it, or speak to someone and see if you're missing any of the steps. Now, at this point, you're probably understanding why we're only focusing on 5 goals, because the amount of things that you need to do to accomplish these goals is probably a list that's a mile long. And that's totally fine, because that happens when we figure out our goals, is that we realize that there's a lot of work that needs to go into it. If I just wanted to lose 5 pounds, well, I need to get rid of all of the bad food in my house because it's tempting to me, and I need to get new groceries. I need to sign up for the gym. I need to get more healthy lifestyle. So I need to drink more water. I need to go to bed earlier. All these different things. There's so many, even if it's the smallest seeming goal, there are so many different steps to do it, which is why we're narrowing it down to the 5. And once you have this list, very important part is that I want you to strike out or put a check mark or whatever it is that you feel would be the best for you next to everything that you have done already to accomplish this goal. And, at this point you could say, wow, I've done so much. I'm pretty close to accomplishing this. Or you could say, geez, I'm missing so many things. And maybe I'm not going to get this done as soon as I thought I would. Maybe I need to kick it into high gear because I'm missing so many things. Or whatever it is that you figure out as a conclusion that you come to, this is going to help you keep these goals and resolutions in check. And then what you need to do, finally, so we're going to go back to the SMART functionality and go back to the timeliness of it. So another important part of our goals is that once you've done all these steps and you've figured out exactly what you're missing, what you need to do, what you want to do, well, you're going to be able to classify them by time period. And I would highly suggest that you have at least one in each time period so that you're working towards different things and not all just like a crunch for the same goal. So what do I mean by time? The way that I classify goals and how I've always done this is in 3 categories. The first one is immediate term. This is like, in principle, I could do it right now today. Maybe I don't have the time in this exact moment, but I can do this sometime between right now and 3 months from now. That is the time period for immediate term. So these can be like pretty small goals that aren't like, I don't know, buying a house, because that's a bit of a longer period usually than 3 months. Unless you're super motivated, then that's totally possible as well. But let's just say I want to read a book. I want to start reading books about psychology. I don't know, something like that. That would be doable in 3 months. So let's say that that's what I want to do, is I want to start reading a book every quarter. Okay, so that's goal number 1 for the immediate term, let's say, for example. The next term is short term. So that would be anything between those 3 months of the immediate term and 1 year. So I know short term doesn't really seem like a year, but a year actually does pass super fast. So for this, we will be using short term as less than 12 months. And that's something that I feel like in my personal situation, I can put my 5 doors in this timeline because I have the down payment aligned, I have the financing approved, I'm in the market for the property. So it's really just a question of the right property coming into my path and me running the numbers and making sure it's okay, and then getting an offer accepted. So I feel like reasonably that's something that's short term, but maybe for you, it's a long-term goal. So let's say long-term in this situation is over 12 months. I don't want you to think of it necessarily as being something that you want to do in 20 years or 30 years or something like that. It could be something that you want to do soon, but you know you won't necessarily accomplish in the next year. So maybe for you, your property search is you're still figuring out that down payment. You're still figuring out where you want to live, what it is that you want to look for. Maybe you're working with a partner, or you're trying to figure out if you should buy a place with friends, whatever it is that you want to do. That's not quite right now. And that's how we figure out our 3 different terms of goals. So whether it's immediate term, short term, or long term. And with having these 3 categories split up, you're going to be able to see things that you can really tackle right away. You're going to have these lists of things that you need to accomplish for each one, and it doesn't become overwhelming that way. When we have, let's say, all 5 of your goals were in the immediate term, I'm personally someone who gets very, very overwhelmed with stuff. For some reason, I'm completely fine with work, but when it comes to my personal life, ask any of my friends, I'm a logistical, overwhelmed nightmare. And I've always had this issue. If I have to clean my room, I look at it and I would just start to sob as a child because I would get so overwhelmed. And what I realized was the best thing to do is to compartmentalize everything. So start with the closet. And then within the closet, not even just do the whole closet, I'm going to start with just the first shelf. And then once I've worked through that, then I can slowly work through other things. And that's how I see my goals as well. When we have all of these lists, they can be so overwhelming. Maybe you have 300 different steps of things that you need to accomplish for these 5 goals. Or you don't even actually have to have 5 realistically, but if you want to do with 5, if you want to start with 1, then that's also fine. And then once you have that, you're going to be able to do things on a smaller, more broken down basis. And when we're seeing these things as each different step, and you can check off a task each time you do it, and how good does it feel to accomplish a task on a task list, especially when it means that you're working towards a goal. I think that that's the best way to get our goals accomplished and to really stick through them throughout the year, because you can keep these things, you can keep them all around. I would have Post-its that say, don't forget this week you need to work on this because there's a new property and you need to run the numbers on it. You need to contact your mortgage broker. You need to run your Excel spreadsheet on it, and we need to figure out if we can afford this and if it makes sense with the cash flow. And that way, having everything around me makes it so much easier to accomplish. I think that that's the huge point of how we mess up our New Year's resolutions and how we don't follow through with them for the whole year. Because we set these not necessarily specific sort of structure of goals, and then we live through the rest of the year saying, oh, I kind of made something in January, but like whatever, I'm not really sticking to it. But when we have these lists and we have these specific elements that we need to target, well, then it becomes a lot easier, right? Because we know exactly what we need to do. It's like a cheat sheet. Like you literally have the exact steps that you need to do. And it's totally your choice. If at some point in the year, you don't want to do your goal anymore, you don't need to do it. If you have no desire, your goals change, you've maybe reached a goal fast, or you have just no desire to accomplish it at all, move on. Next goal. Next thing that you want to do. There's other things to do. I find also having these goals around me help me motivate and add significance to my day-to-day. So for example, if I'm doing something that I don't necessarily love to do, whether it's at work or it's something for my personal growth that I'm doing, or it's waking up super early for a workout that I maybe stayed out about a bit too late the night before and I realized maybe I've made a mistake. Well, when I think of my goals and I look at my goals all around me, whether it's a vision board or if you just have it on your phone, maybe it's your phone background, maybe it's like I've seen some people I coach that put it up right behind their workstation so that they look at it all day. And it helps add significance to all of these little things that we're doing. Because when I think, okay, well, I definitely do not want to be up at this hour because last night was a bit of a late night, I remember that I had the goal of having this certain level of fitness that I'll be really happy with. And of course I can mess up and I can have days that I just don't want to do it, but they certainly do help motivate me to have my goals all around me so that I remember what it is that I'm working for. Because my issue on a personal level, when I slack once, I tend to keep slacking. Like if I mess up on my workout routine, I tend to mess up for like 2 weeks straight rather than just skipping one day. So having these goals really keeps me on track for different things. Having these steps broken down keeps me on track again for what I'm trying to accomplish. If you want to be like next level with your goals, you can break up tasks and have them like me that you need to do everything. You put it on your agenda and stuff like that. But then again, if you don't want to be that like nitty gritty about each one of your goals. What you can obviously do as well is to just have these lists and look at them periodically and say, okay, well, I'm not doing too much right now. I was probably just going to do like a lazy day of Netflix. So let me see if there's something on my goal list really quickly I can work on. And you would be surprised how much you can actually accomplish in the time that you might have just sat around and done nothing. My friends always tell me that it's crazy how much I can get done in a day, but it's because I love just ticking items off my list. But if you don't want to be like that, that's also totally fine. You don't need to have your full agenda. You can work it out however you want. But the entire point of this video is that I think that what the most important thing is that you can do when it comes to your goals is making these SMART goals, giving yourself a priority of 5 goals that you're working towards, and to have these laid out over a time period that also makes sense for you with all of these tasks broken down. Because once you do that and you break it down and you have all of this formula, well, it's basically like you have the whole recipe. You just need to start making the cake. And I'm probably only saying that because I'm a huge baker and I love to bake, but if this has helped you out in any way to figure out your goals and to figure out how exactly you're going to go about accomplishing them this year in 2022, or even if you want to start today, before 2022, or you're maybe seeing this in June and you still want some goals for the year. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, what your goals are, how do you feel like this technique is going for you, has it helped you? Let me know, I'd love to hear it.